Alright guys, welcome to this very first video in our video series about Web3 development. How do we build dApps? What is needed in order to build a dApp? And how do we ensure that our dApps really wow the user? At the end of the day, it's all about the user, guys. Never forget that. Because when a user uses a dApp, they need to feel the magic. Just like when the first users used the Netscape navigator. You remember the first web browser that had the graphical interface and became huge. It was Netscape, and people really felt the magic of the internet. The same thing right now we're doing with Web3, with blockchain apps, with smart contracts. And in this video series, we will be teaching you from scratch how do you build the front end, how do you build amazing UI, because that's something very important for the user. I mean, that's the most important thing for the user. How do we build amazing UI? How do we build amazing smart contracts? Because most of the logic, of the financial logic, is in the smart contracts. Most of the NFTs are in the smart contract. So most of the important things that actually happen on the blockchain, you need to code through smart contracts. And then, of course, you need an amazing backend as well. You need the server, because you need to be able to analyze the blockchain. You need to be able to save your users. You need to be able to run filtering. You need to be able to run aggregation on your users. I will soon be showing you how to do that and what that really means. But at the end of the day, you really need these three important ingredients that each and every dApp has. And you need different technologies for each and every use case. So let's start with the programming languages. What kind of programming language do you need to build an amazing UI for your dApp? Here we're talking about JavaScript. You need to learn JavaScript, you need to understand JavaScript. And this is very important because all websites are built using JavaScript. And then of course you have HTML, you have CSS, but I assume that if you're watching this video, you already know what it is and how it works. So UI is something that you can just take from your other programming experience. So UI is not something that is special to blockchain, that we build UI in some kind of different way. No, you use the same kind of technologies you use anywhere else, because at the end of the day, most of the UIs to different dApps, it's websites. Now, there is a certain difference, and that is that in order to make your website talk to the blockchain and interact with smart contracts, you need to have a library called Web3.js. And this is the first of these special libraries that I want to show you and really demonstrate. This is Web3. We will be showing you in depth in future videos, but just know that when you are building the UI and you come from traditional web development and you enter the blockchain programming space, understand that you will need to learn this Web3.js. Now, what Web3.js allows your website to do is to talk with smart contracts. Smart contracts really handle all the logic with the finances. It's all about which kind of tokens you have, which kind of currencies you have. It's all on the blockchain and it's all handled through smart contracts. Which kind of NFTs you have, and so on and so forth. And you can build a lot of logic in smart contracts because these are Turing complete smart contracts, meaning that you can build anything you want. You can build your full game logic using smart contracts if you are building a game. If you are building an exchange, a decentralized exchange, you can just do it through smart contracts. You still need the user interface to make it usable, but you can do most of it using smart contracts in terms of how the backend works. So that's important. And how do you build? You use a language called Solidity. This is the most important language you need to learn if you are building blockchain dApps. Now, what the UI will do is that it will be able to interact with smart contracts. It will also be able to fetch your balances, for example, your tokens, your currencies, which transactions you're doing, stuff like that. Now, this is built in Solidity. And here you have different tools. So for example, you need a tool called Ganache. Ganache, let me show you the website. Ganache is a tool that allows you to run a local blockchain. Because when you are building, and here's by the way where you can see your accounts, you can see your blocks, and this blockchain is only on your computer. Why is it important? Well, because when you are building a dApp and you're building smart contracts, you don't want to be deploying the smart contracts to a real blockchain. Why? Because it takes a lot of time. You need to pay transaction fee. And even if you use a testnet, such as Ropsten or Rinkeby, you need to understand that it's still slow. So for development, you don't want to be using testnet or mainnet. You want to be using your local blockchain, and you can do it through Ganache. All right. Now, in order to write the different smart contracts, you can use a tool called Truffle. And here is where you can easily get up to speed and you can easily start building. So this is what I would recommend. So Ganache for running your own chain, and then Truffle as a framework for building smart contracts. That's very, very important. Now, finally, we do have the server. Here is where it's a lot of work, because you need to be able, for many dApps, to be able to aggregate. What does it mean? Let's say you do have a game and you want to calculate the average of all user scores. You need to aggregate all users, all right? Your server needs to check into the smart contract, and potentially it needs to check into historical transactions. Okay, this is also important, because the blockchain as it is, if you just talk using Web3, if you just use Web3.js, from your front end to speak to the blockchain, you will never get historical data. So you will not be able to get everything that has happened on the blockchain. You just get the current state of the blockchain. So to get historical information about different transactions, about what happened in the past, you need a server that does it. You need also a server to store your user data, because Web3, it will only allow you to authenticate using the wallet, the MetaMask that the user might have. But what if you want to add a profile picture? What if you want to add an email to your user? What if you want to add some description? What if you want to store some other user data? Well, you need to store it on your server. So that's also very, very important right here. If it is the case that you want to set up alerts, let's say that you want to get an alert each and every time something happens on the blockchain with certain parameters. For example, each and every time a player in your blockchain game does something and they have this amount of tokens and they are located in Asia, do something. So this kind of alerts, you need to have a server. And here is where we will be showing you how to use Moralis.io in order to build this. Because the whole idea with Moralis.io is to make it as simple as possible. And that's very, very important, because most people waste a lot of time doing these standard things that everyone has to do, and they don't focus on the actual dApp. Instead of focusing on the actual dApp, on the actual experience, they figure out how to fetch historical data, how to do alerts, how to do user profiles. So that's exactly what Moralis solves. And let me show you quickly how it looks like. So if you go to Moralis.io, you do see that we offer the whole Web3 experience. And right now, we are inviting you to a beta. That's very important. So use the link below, go to Moralis.io and sign up for beta. So what this tool allows you to do is to not worry about this server at all. You don't need to worry about it. You don't need to build any of this. You get authentication and user profiles, which means that you just write one line of code like this, and you get the user address, all transactions, you get the email, the name. That's very, very important. And it's all stored as a user in your database. You get real-time database, which means that you can store any JSON you want about your users. And it's powerful to handle millions and millions and millions of users and millions of relations, and so on and so forth. You get real-time alerts. As soon as something happens on the blockchain, maybe some kind of event, maybe some kind of transfer, maybe some kind of trade happens on the blockchain, you get alerted. You can run custom code as a response to this alert. So we do it all for you. If it is the case that you want to write your own server logic, you can do it through Cloud Functions. These Cloud Functions can do anything you want with your database. They can also interact with the blockchain. They can read the state of the blockchain, and so on and so forth. And you get data storage, which means that you can store anything you want about your users, some picture, some file, if you want to have file uploading, and so on and so forth. So right now, we are opening this for beta access. So use the link below, sign up, right here. And most importantly, you will be able to really have the first-hand experience in building using Moralis. It is going to be cross-chain because the next step, as you understand, is that you need to take your dApp cross-chain. What if your dApp should work on both Ethereum and Binance chain and have the same kind of front end? Well, you need a server that can handle that. You need a server that can both have your users, have all your users from Binance chain and from ETH, and to be able to coordinate. What if you want to show stats? Let's say you have a game and your game is running on Binance chain, on Ethereum, it is running on Tron, it is running on ADA. It's the same game. It's running on Polkadot. All right. And you want to show high scores from all of these players. You want to aggregate all of the players on different chains and you want to show a leaderboard. Well, you need Moralis. You need a server that we provide, and it's very easy to use. What if you have some kind of other use case where different users are using blockchain? Some users, they don't use blockchain. Maybe they just sign up with email. Well, you can do that as well. So basically what Moralis does is allows you to really store Web3 and Web2 users in one single profile. All right, which means that some users will log in with email, other users will log in with MetaMask, other users will log in with MetaMask, but also they add their email. So it's very, very flexible what you want to do. All in all, guys, we're very excited. For all of you who join the beta, we will be actually working directly with you. That's key. So what does it mean? It means that we add you to Discord, you build, we help you. Of course, because it's beta, we might have a few bugs here and there still, so beware of that. And then the best experiences, the best apps that are built using Moralis, we will also promote on our Ivan on Tech channel. So that's key. All in all, guys, use the link below, sign up, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the beta.